Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 98-88 loss to the LA Clippers. Riker, the Raptors went into this one without Kyle Lowry, without Serge Ibaka, lost OG 2 minutes into this game, already shorthanded, McCaw's out, and on the second night of a back-to-back, certainly put up a fight, but some pitfalls led to the Raptors, especially a collapse in the fourth quarter, led to the Raptors falling short to the LA Clippers.
Well, not just a collapse in the fourth quarter, Ben, but an absolute lack of rebounding, specifically the inability to stop the Clippers from getting offensive rebounds, and just there seemed to be either a lid on the rim or people could not finish layups either way. But those two things had I don't want to say the roles been reversed, but if they even narrowed those misses into half, right, and those offensive rebounds to half, it would have been a completely different game, because for the most part, if you lock down Kawhi Leonard the way that they did and play with the energy that they did until they clearly got tired at the end of the fourth, they should have won that game.
Yeah, certainly. And this was a very anticipated game. Obviously, the return of Raptors legend Patrick Patterson. He a lot of people were looking for this game. In realness, Kawhi Leonard came back, and the Raptors had him clamped. Patty P actually he scored equal as many points as Kawhi, but the Toronto Raptors ran a defensive scheme where they were just trapping Kawhi Leonard, the whole time he went up the court, and it seemed to work for full effect. And Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, when OG Anunoby went out, he came in and stepped in and played really amazing defense tonight.
Yeah, and okay, yes, I was ready to give my full vote of confidence to Rondae Hollis-Jefferson for his energy on defense. I mean, if you can step up and limit the scoring of one of the greatest in the game right now, currently, two-time MVP, or finals MVP. But not only that, but shut him down completely. Didn't have a field goal until sometime in the third, right? So I was ready to give him the full vote of confidence, but him, just like the rest of the team, sort of plagued. He couldn't finish inside. He had a lot of good opportunities. He was really active under the rim, but just couldn't finish his rebounds or his finishes. And what you said about them doubling Kawhi, I think the Raptors were also fortunate. Maybe you can have a comment on this, but I think they were fortunate because the Raptors shot terrible from three this evening. Pascal was 1 for 6, Fred was 1 for 6, Norm was 1 for 5. They still shot a better three-point percentage, even though they were shooting contested. Chris Boucher was hitting contested threes, Matt Thomas hitting contested threes. When they were doubling, getting wide open, the Clippers getting wide open shots all game long, I think the Raptors got a little bit lucky that perhaps the Clippers didn't connect on as many as they should have.
I think they played really good defense on the Clippers' actual shooters. Like Landry Shamet, I think all of his threes were pretty contested. We saw Patrick Beverley get a few open ones. JaMychal Green, he was left open a few times, and he's a solid three-point shooter, but not one of the greats. Mo Harkless, they kind of let the shooters that aren't the knockdown guys, the guys that you can semi-contest on and aren't going to be super consistent. That was their defensive scheme. Nick Nurse ran out there. He said, if we lose this game to Mo Harkless and JaMychal Green, then fair enough. So I think the strategy was good, but the area where it really lacked, and I think the big product of this is Chris Boucher as your center coming off the bench, it's the rebounding. Because Serge Ibaka usually does a great job of coming in on, because Gasol is the only real rebounder when you look at the 9 guys that played tonight. Chris Boucher is not a center. Pascal Siakam is not a center. Two of these guys, we've argued that they should be playing small forward in the NBA, in today's NBA. So it's kind of tough when you're going up against, especially a guy like Zubac or Montrezl Harrell, who are just fiends in the offensive glass, getting up there. And I think the rebounding stats are a little bit exaggerated as well, because there's a couple of possessions where it felt like there were 6 or 7 offensive rebounds because it was just coming off the rim left in the randomest of places. But certainly the Raptors, if we're going to have Serge Ibaka out for an extended period of time, maybe you have to throw in Hernandez because he's known for his rebounding, or throw in someone, because we need, Boucher did what he could on the rebounds. I think he hustled well, but asking him to guard the center on the other team is just too much for the Raptors to ask.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I've made the comments every single time that he plays that he is incredibly light, and it's obvious. He's just not a man yet. He hasn't put on that beef. He hasn't put on that muscle. And same thing, Pascal Siakam, he's good, but unless everybody from the 3 to the 5 is committed to boxing out, you're going to get out-rebounded, and that's exactly what happened tonight. If you're undersized, everybody needs to be boxing out. And when the Raptors were focused tonight on all of their switches, really, they had to play really good help defense tonight if they're going to be doubling Kawhi, which is exactly what they did. Their rotations were fast. But with that being said, you're not tracking one man. You have to just box out the person closest to you, and that didn't seem to be what was instilled in the Raptors tonight. And therefore, you're not able to then rely on, because he didn't box out, just out-muscling the guy to get to the hoop like Chris Boucher. So I definitely agree. And this is the unfortunate situation. The Raptors seem to be still pretty deep, but not at that 5 spot, and that's when they were sorely missing Serge Ibaka tonight.
Yeah, and a big loss in this game, too, I think, was OG Anunoby, because his rebounding has taken to, like, 4 or 5 steps up from where it was last year.
And his size,
I think he would have helped just... Yeah, exactly. So he's been using that size this season, so he could have been someone that could have helped on the defensive glass. But, yeah, it was just unfortunate to see him go out early along on top of all the injuries. Hopefully it's nothing that's going to be too sustained. We might get OG with the goggles back again this season, so that'll be fun to see. But... we got to talk about our main guys, because the Toronto Raptors, especially with Lowry, who has consistently been the guy that gets us a bucket whenever we need it, this season, not our number one option, but he's just been super timely with all his shots this year. He's obviously out now for the next couple weeks. Serge, who's been that guy off the bench. We've been really relying on Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam the past couple games, and, they're great players. And Siakam, they played really well against the Lakers, but on the second night of a back-to-back, the efficiency really wasn't there. And I don't think it was because they were getting poor shots, but, open threes, they just weren't knocking down. Fred VanVleet was, I've been talking about this whole season. Fred VanVleet needs to finish around the rim, or he just needs to kick it out, right? If he's going up there and Montrezl Harrell's on his back, it's not the smart move to throw that ball up. You're better off throwing it out of bounds, just so the Clippers can't go back up with a fast break if you're going to be throwing those up. So what are your thoughts on just our 2 main scoring options? Because I think they played all around games that were pretty solid. Fred made some great assists. Siakam played some great defense, got some rebounds. He facilitated the ball as well. But in terms of scoring, and if the Raptors could just put the ball in the hole, this would have been an easy win with the defense they played. Well, what did you see out of our main 2 guys?
Yeah. Well, besides Lou Williams on the Clippers, nobody in this game scored more than 16 points. So it's nobody really dominated. Both teams played a team game, but it's not going to fly that... Well, it almost did, but it's not going to fly that VanVleet and Siakam both don't perform well, right? We need somebody to step up and play decent. I thought tonight could have been Marc Gasol's night that he actually takes advantage of. That was probably the weakest defensive link, but obviously also our worst offensive player so far this season. But specifically, I think that I agree with what you're saying about VanVleet. I liked his confidence tonight, but he could have played a little bit more under control, especially there was one fast break, or there was multiple fast break layups, but one specifically where he sort of clunked one off the backboard when he had Kawhi Leonard on his back. Kawhi was eager tonight. He was jumping on pump fakes out of the three-point line, which is very uncharacteristic of such a talented defensive player. I thought he's out there, he wants to block every Raptors shot. Pump fake, right? Even though you're on a fast break, it's not the most flashy thing. Pump break your layup, let him blow by you, and then just finish the easy shots. And those shots would have mattered down the stretch. It would have been helpful to have another 6-8 points going in late into the fourth quarter, so they wouldn't have had to be clawing back as much as they did. And then Pascal Siakam, he just needed to convert his layups tonight, because he had a couple good shots. Three-point shooting wasn't falling down, but he needs to be better around the rim.
Yeah, certainly. And I think a big reason that we stayed in this game for scoring, because our starters didn't really produce that much. Norman Powell had he did some solid shooting, but some other things Norman Powell did really, really hurt this team. In the same vein, Fred VanVleet made some sporadic plays, some dumb fouls, just some takes that really killed the Raptors' momentum. And the box score wasn't bad for Norman Powell, 15 points, 4 rebounds, a couple assists, but if the eye test from this game, really, it was a tough watching Norman Powell. But a couple of positives: Chris Boucher, super confident as always, knocked down 3 threes, 13 points, 6 rebounds, had a couple nasty blocks, one ridiculous one that was kind of like Bismack Biyombo. Actually, we'll save that for after. But and Terrence Davis, he came out and really impressed me, Ryker, off the bench. Only 5 points, but his defense on ball, he just knows how to play the game. I would have liked to seen him get a few more minutes, especially where Fred had 45 points. And Matt Thomas made some foolish rookie defensive mistakes, but that stroke is clean. Mr. 99% shot 100% from the field tonight, 2 of 2 from the three-point line, 8 points. What did you see from those 3 guys off the bench before we swing into the segment?
Yeah, well, you mentioned those guys. Matt Thomas, he looked like a disaster when he was out in the first half. He really just messed up a lot of plays. He shot well, but he messed up
defensively.
Exactly.
Defensively,
yeah,
specifically.
But defense is a huge part of the game. That's 50% of the game. So he looked like a liability. So I didn't love what I saw tonight, despite him going out and looking like that three that he hit, his second three when he came off a screen. My God, if that doesn't look like J.J. Redick, picturesque J.J. Redick, then I don't know what is. And that's something the Raptors could actually use. And then Chris Boucher, we'll save the commentary for him for the segments because he'll pop up again. And Terrence Davis also looked nice. But I do want to reiterate that Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, to me tonight, looked nice. Like his defense, 3 steals, Ben. 3 steals. Like that, it was very impressive, his hustle. But like I said, I'd say almost all of 11 of his shots were underneath the basket, and to only shoot 4 for 11, that's you gotta be more consistent. He's a guy that is actually pretty effective in his time on the Brooklyn Nets, so I'm surprised that he didn't get as many baskets. But I wouldn't mind seeing a bit more from him moving on in the season. But Ben, take it away for us.
Yeah, certainly. Tonight, the Spicy P lay of the day. It's it's not going to Spicy P tonight, but the big block. I brought it up a few seconds ago, but Chris Boucher underneath the rim. He had a few nice threes, but the play that stuck out to me was, I believe, it was Montrezl Harrell came in. He goes down. He tries to slam that thing home with power. And Chris Boucher was having none of it, jumped up, and yes, he might be undersized, but he gets blocks. He blocks shots. I saw on Reddit someone called him Le Bloc Québécois, and he came out there and swatted that. It was it reminded me of Bismack Biyombo blocking LeBron, that infamous play in Raptors history, and that had me excited. If Chris Boucher, when he's playing, because it's tough for him playing center. I don't really want him as our backup center, but I think as a power forward coming off the bench that can be that secondary big to come over and block these shots like Serge Ibaka used to do in OKC, that could be a perfect role for him, especially when everyone comes back healthy. And, a second play that I had in mind, too, was the Rondae Hollis-Jefferson clamping up Kawhi, ended up getting a steal and then getting a quick fast break layup. But there were some quality plays. There's a lot of positive takeaways from this game tonight, despite the fact that we lost. And, with all the injuries and a back-to-back night, it was a fun game to watch, despite the disappointing ending.
I agree, man. Keep us going.
Certainly, but not all plays can be the spicy P-lay of the day, and some just make you say, oh, geez. And tonight, the oh, geez play of the day. It's the Norman Powell at the end of the half. He missed a couple straight shots, and then we were down by 3. We kind of lost the run to the Clippers, and then he just comes out and randomly fouls Lou Williams at the end of the quarter, just reaching in, and then they got 2 extra free throws. Yeah. It's kind of a momentum booster for the Clippers. I don't know. That made me say, oh, geez. Do you have one in mind, Riker?
I didn't have one specifically. I was cursing a lot at the screen tonight watching with my roommate, probably driving him crazy with my commentary, but I do remember it was a momentum killer to end the half, and what was a pretty close game up to that point. And then they managed to have a lot of life in the third, but then unfortunately fourth quarter was pretty dismal. They just didn't have any offense that was clicking. But I can bring us into the DeMarre Carroll the infamous DeMarre Carroll Gold Star Award for worst performance of the night. For me, it's not a person, it's just the collective 3-point shooting, rebounding, and finishing layups for the Toronto Raptors. Ben, maybe you have something more specific, but that's, for me, they could have won this game. It was within reach. It would have been a good victory, and it's not a bad thing. It's not like Kawhi Leonard went out and got the best of the Toronto Raptors. All the love to Kawhi, but I would have liked to see him get destroyed spectacularly against this new Toronto Raptors squad. But ultimately, it was a close game. It was within reach, and it was just those few things that, had it been a bit different, they would have come away with probably a good margin victory.
Yeah, I brought him up earlier. I had a DeMarre Carroll Gold Star in mind, but I had a couple. First one's going to Patrick Patterson. Seeing him hit 4 threes tonight just hurt my soul. It hurt my soul watching especially in the tail end of his Raptors career, watching him brick after brick after brick. I have PTSD from that 2016 playoffs where him and DeMarre Carroll were on the wings. Just DeMar and Lowry playing well, swinging it over, and then Matty D being like, oh, Patty P for 3. Too strong. But tonight he was actually hitting them. So got to give credit where credit's due, but it's tough to see him do that against the Raptors. He had 12 points for the Clippers. But, yeah, I'm in the similar boat to you. The real gold star, it's going to the Raptors, missing those layups. And I would have liked to see, because Fred VanVleet, you can expect to be inconsistent. We don't really have the star label on him. He doesn't have that max contract yet. But you want to see Pascal Siakam take over a little bit more, somehow, some way. Find a way, because he didn't have a bad game tonight by any means. He didn't shoot efficiently, but 16 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists. But when you have that potential, you show flashes of that, because I brought up on a few pods ago how I wanted to see Pascal Siakam take over and show that superstar finesse against a top tier team, like he did it in flashes against the Lakers, but tonight we needed it. Tonight we really needed it. We didn't really need it against the LA Lakers, but he still got us some timely buckets. But in the fourth quarter, when the Raptors were down, he didn't need to shoot efficiently. Kawhi didn't have the greatest shooting efficiency night, but when the game was close in the fourth, Kawhi went on like a 5-point run. And that was just a momentum swinger for the Clippers, and that got all the role players going. If Siakam could do that for the Raptors, I'm not asking him to have a 15-point quarter after struggling the whole game, but if he could just get us some timely buckets when the offense is stagnant and we just really need some scores to get the flow going a little bit more, I'd like to see that more of Siakam, because these are the types of games where you really need that player. That's what we're going to need in the playoffs, and I called it the superstar gene or whatever a couple pods ago. It's not even a superstar gene. It's just timely scoring, and that would be super helpful for this team.
Absolutely, Ben. All right, we're going long in a loss. I'd be shocked and surprised if people made it this far. But, that's it. It was an interesting game, and it gives me faith that the Raptors are legit. They have a good chance this season. So
yep.
It's not all a negative. It's, obviously not the desired
definitely
outcome.
Some positives.
Yeah, but there was pluses, exactly. Mm-hmm. And so that's about it. So wrap us up, man.
Yeah, you guys are the best for making this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. Back post on the Insta and all that. So if you've kind of veered away from that, definitely go check that out again. Riker, any last words?
Skitty pop pop. Cheers.